More than 700 national security leaders and former military officials have publicly endorsed Kamala Harris for president in a letter released on Sunday, praising her as a candidate who defends America's democratic ideals. In sharp contrast, they declared Donald Trump, her Republican opponent, unfit for the presidency. The letter, signed by retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral Michael Smith, along with hundreds of others, condemned Trump's past comments about terminating the U.S. Constitution based on his false claim that the 2020 election was stolen. It also referenced his suggestion of becoming a dictator if re-elected. The group further criticized Donald Trump for showing no remorse over the January 6 Capitol attack, emphasizing the danger they believe he poses to the nation's democratic principles. Well, this endorsement is yet another significant boost for Kamala Harris as she campaigns for the White House since Joe Biden decided not to seek re-election back in July. She's gained a narrow lead over Trump and has performed well in key swing states essential for victory. She's also earned the backing of several prominent anti-Trump Republicans. She has outraised Donald Trump 3-1, and she herself is starting to see a boost in the polls of between 2 and 3 points. In their letter, the security and military officials expressed confidence in Harris's understanding of military power and its role in national defense, stating that she grasps the reality of American military deterrence, promising to preserve the American military status as one of the most lethal forces in the world. The contrast with Mr. Trump is clear. Where Vice President Harris is prepared and strategic, he is impulsive and ill-informed, the letter concluded. The full letter from the National Security Leaders for America group is addressed to the American people and reads like this. We are former public servants who swore an oath to the Constitution. Many of us risked our lives for it. We are retired generals, admirals, senior non-commissioned officers, ambassadors, and senior civilian national security leaders. We are Republicans, Democrats, and independents. We are loyal to the ideals of our nation, like freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, not to any one individual or party. We do not agree on everything, but we all adhere to two fundamental principles. First, we believe America's national security requires a serious and capable commander-in-chief. Second, we believe American democracy is invaluable. Each generation has a responsibility to defend it, and that's why we, the undersigned, proudly endorse Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States. This election is a choice between serious leadership and vengeful impulsiveness. It is a choice between democracy and authoritarianism. Vice President Harris defends America's democratic ideals, while the former President Donald Trump endangers them. We do not make such an assessment lightly. We are trained to make sober, rational decisions. That is how we know Vice President Harris would make an excellent commander-in-chief, while Mr. Trump has proven he is not up to the job. As leaders, we know effective leadership requires in-depth knowledge, careful deliberation, understanding of your adversaries, and empathy for those you lead. It requires listening to those with expertise and not firing them when they disagree with you. Vice President Harris has proven she is an effective leader, able to advance American national security interests. Her relentless diplomacy with allies around the globe preserved a united front in support of Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression. She grasps the reality of American military deterrence, promising to preserve the American military status as the most lethal force in the world. The contrast with Mr. Trump is clear. Where Vice President Harris is prepared and strategic, he is impulsive and ill-informed. He has heaped praise on adversarial dictators like China's Xi Jinping and North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Russia's Vladimir Putin, as well as terrorist leaders of Hezbollah. Conversely, he has publicly and privately excoriated the leaders of our most steadfast allies, including the United Kingdom, Israel, Australia, Canada, and Germany. He abandoned our Kurdish allies while ceding influence in the Middle East to Russia, Iran, and China. Further, Mr. Trump denigrates our great country and does not believe in the American ideal, that our leaders should reflect the will of the people, while Vice President Harris follows the democratic norms we expect of any political leader, including promising to abide by the outcome of the pending election and respecting the rule of law. Mr. Trump is the first president in American history to actively undermine the peaceful transfer of power, the bedrock of American democracy. Mr. Trump threatens our democratic system. He has said so himself. He has called for the termination of parts of the Constitution. He said he wants to be a dictator, and his clarification that he would only be a dictator for a day is not reassuring. He has undermined faith in our elections by repeating lies without evidence of millions of fraudulent votes. He has shown no remorse for trying to overturn the 2020 election on January 6th, promises to pardon the convicted perpetrators, and has made clear he will not respect the results of the 2024 election should he lose again. That alone proves Mr. Trump is unfit to be commander-in-chief. We believe, as President Ronald Reagan said, that America is a shining city on a hill. Yet in this election, one of President Reagan's more ominous warnings is equally relevant. Freedom, he said, is never more than one generation away from extinction. Our endorsement of Vice President Harris is an endorsement of freedom and an act of patriotism. It's an endorsement of democratic ideals, of competence, and of relentless optimism in America's future. We hope you will join us in voting for her. Sincerely, President of National Security Leaders for America, Rear Admiral Michael E. Smith, retired. And then what followed were hundreds of signatures from the Steering Committee of National Security Leaders for America. And this is the point, that this is not a partisan issue. These people are Republicans, they are Democrats, they are undecided, they are people who put country over party. And that's why this once, just this once, it is essential for people to choose democracy and America's freedoms over a political party. And Donald Trump does not advocate for democracy. Donald Trump is offering you an authoritarian regime. He is a despot, aligned with some of the worst dictators on the planet. And this is why this crossroads is the most essential point on America's roadmap. I'm Anthony Davis. You can catch me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel, on Wednesday co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.